Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. It's exactly 1 year that PENGASSAN lost its national president, Comrade Francis Olabode Johnson. On the program today, we will be dedicating this episode to the life and times of Francis Olabode Johnson and its role in the oil and gas sector to ensure that workers' rights are protected. It takes men of great courage, vision, and tenacity to build empires, nations, or associations. Such is the story of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASSAN, one of the country's foremost trade unions and pressure groups. After years of struggle, the association was formally registered as a trade union in Nigeria on 15th of August 1978 as one of the 24 registered senior staff associations under the Trade Union Congress Act. From that humble beginning more than 40 years ago, PENGASSAN has expanded to have over 10,000 members, drawn from 127 oil companies registered under it as branches. With its national headquarters located at number 288 Ikorodu Road, Anthony in Lagos, PENGASSAN has zonal offices in Lagos, Warri, Port Harcourt and Kaduna, as well as a liaison office in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. With the main aim of safeguarding and protecting the jobs of its members through safe and healthy working environment, PENGASSAN has been able to support and promote legislation in the interest of workers in Nigeria, as well as champion fights against obnoxious government policies. The history of Nigeria's democratic struggle cannot be complete without a mention of PENGASSAN, as the union played untiring and selfless role during the June 12, 1993 struggle and eventual return to democratic rule in 1999. PENGASSAN remains the conscience and voice of the labor in the critical Nigerian oil and gas sector, playing the role of mirror of the society and constant voice of reason against repressive labor practices in the country. The association has been able to achieve all this through the efforts of many of its dogged, visionary and committed leaders. One of such is the late Comrade Francis Olabode Johnson, popularly called FOJ, who served as president of PENGASSAN from 2014 to 2019. The late Francis Olabode Johnson was first elected as president of PENGASSAN in June 2014. In his first-term mandate as president of PENGASSAN, FOJ contributed immensely to the growth and development of the association. As part of his drive to elevate the status of the association, the late Francis Olabode Johnson renovated the PENGASSAN National Secretariat building in Lagos, following a directive by the National Executive Council at its meeting in Warri, Delta State. This was because the Secretariat was due for a facelift and FOJ ensured that the project was completed within 2 months. The facelift, which included furnishing, was expected to be replicated in the zonal offices in Kaduna, Warri and Port Harcourt.
Comrade Olabode Francis, please a round of applause.
If you cannot exceed what your leaders have put in place, make sure you do also go down. And so we strive to also make sure we go up. Understand? And that's the joy of everything. That if PENGASSAN was handed over to me, it's not going to do my tenure that PENGASSAN will be recognized. PENGASSAN will be gone down. So I will not take it. So I must do everything humanly possible within my strength, within my focus, to make sure that I defend and hand over PENGASSAN to people they can work.
On the 9th of June 2017, Francis Olabode Johnson was re-elected for a second term of 3 years as the president of PENGASSAN. In his acceptance speech on his re-election, Johnson reiterated that security of jobs of members would be central to his administration.
As much as possible, we continue to protect and defend our members. That's jobs and everything for our members. But also doing that, we also must also look at that as NEC members and everybody, we must also be disciplined. We must also not do things that also bring the attention to discipline.
Great PENGASSAN! Great PENGASSAN!
Unfortunately, tragedy hit the PENGASSAN on Friday, 31st of May 2019, when news of the death of its president, Francis Olabode Johnson, filtered into town. It was a sad day for PENGASSAN and indeed the Nigerian labor movement, following the loss of one of its shining lights. The death of FOJ at the National Hospital Abuja after a brief illness was a rude shock not just to the National Executive Council Central Working Committee and members and staff of PENGASSAN, but to the whole of Nigeria. He was on the final lap of an eventful, impactful and transformational 6 years as president of PENGASSAN before death struck. Stakeholders in the oil and gas sector and labor leaders spoke on his achievements, which include coordinated action to support industrial relations for the benefit of members, improved guidelines for outsourcing and third-party labor and service contracts, as well as aggressive membership drive to ensure unionization in oil and gas companies.
First of all, he left a very big shoe, so difficult to fill. In all of that, we miss his humility, we miss his servant leadership disposition, and we miss his father figure role, and also his relationship with people. So we miss all of this.
He ran an open book leadership, let me put it like that. And you know, he had eyes for details. You might not take him like that, maybe you need somebody with PhD first to be president today. No, he had eyes for details and he remembers things a lot. So if he sees your face, he doesn't forget. If he has done something or one document, he knows where it is. He keeps records of all documents that he signs out or anything, so that he can really, he was very thorough. So that he can get this and say, this is what I'm using to defend myself. Nobody can come and give me fake news or this is what we did. Because I think he understood people. That's the major thing. He understood people. It was more of a, if they are giving somebody PhD degree in street wise, I think he had it. So he knows people. He knows that people are of different shape, but he tries to accommodate everybody's differences, so that what is the goal of the association? This is where we are going, and this is how we can get to it. It's not by fighting, but achieving results. I think it was more result-oriented.
It's 1 year, just 1 year ago now. Well, to us, it looks like, yesterday. That shocking death is still fresh in our memories, especially persons like us that work very, very closely with him. FOJ is somebody we have really missed and we will continue to miss, because he was an enigma, a man in his own class. His level of humility and simplicity, like I always say, was a parallel. And his working relationship with, with us in Nupeng, was great. We have missed that, no doubt. And I do hope we can, we can fill those gaps up.
If not for his sudden demise, F.O. Johnson would have been the president of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. So we miss him a lot. He is somebody that is very, very dependable. He's a friend indeed, and a friend in need. He's a brother. He's a comrade. So what we that he left behind are supposed to do is to immortalize him, like PENGASSAN has done, by way of creating a foundation in the name of our good friend, our late friend. I will encourage that to be done, and we assure them that we are going to support them, and we will support the family. We're immortalizing him because we need to encourage surviving leaders that whatever they do for the purposes of enhancing the development of the movement will never go in vain. So, to us, he is a legend.
FOJ is a very jovial person, and also his sense of humility. FOJ has a way of making you at ease, no matter the pressure you're going through. Because first I was his president, and later he became my president. And there are certain things that I always remember him for. He always have a line, and maybe we are doing certain things. We are in a meeting, and I feel when I was president, the meeting was getting heated, and I meet him outside, and I'll say, "Man, your loyalty, I'm questioning it." And he would tell me, "Mr. President, loyalty is two ways," and we'll laugh about it. And when he also became president, and certain times he also come to me and we're having a conversation, and I'll remind him and I'll say, "President, loyalty is two ways." So we all laugh about it. And as for being a family man, he's a wonderful family man, has huge respect for his family, and he never stopped talking about the help he has gotten from his wife and the advice the wife always gives. So I think in terms of being stable, he's a very stable guy, and I think that is what I miss mostly about him.
F.O. Johnson is somebody that I can describe as very reliable, very straightforward, compassionate, and a true and genuine labor leader that represents the interests of the constituency he represents. And he does this with a lot of admiration, very subtle, but importantly that he's reliable, and he's somebody that will always stand by the truth.
I want to recall with candor the assistance of Comrade Johnson as at last year, and his support and efforts on labor movement to ensure that we continue to protect the interests of workers in Nigeria, especially workers in his industry, which is petroleum and gas, PENGASSAN, and in extension, the Trade Union Movement Congress of Nigeria. And I can confirm to you that the Congress really needs the President of Comrade Johnson. He will have contributed his quota to accelerate whatever achievements we have today. And to really give respect to him in the blessed memory, the Congress has been under pressure to make sure that we continue to protect the interests of members across all TUC affiliates, and also in collaboration with PENGASSAN. I can say we keep his memory, and we are working very, very hard to continue to protect the interests of members.
FOJ had very firm position on national issues like the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, PIGB, as well as casualization and outsourcing of staff for employers.
We as an industry have come together to...
The Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, his place of work before his death, described FOJ as a devout Christian who touched many lives and believed in transparency and accountability.
I knew Johnson since 1993. We were together in activism. I was part of the leadership of the trade union until 1998, 1999. So all that period, Johnson was not just a comrade to me, but he was a friend and a family friend. We grew up together in this organization, and we appreciated each other. I can say a lot of good things about him. One of them is that he's a very factual person. He believes in the common good. He believes that this company needs to do well so that the workers in the company can also do well. And that has been his persuasion all through his union activism, and leading to a number of monumental benefits that he delivered to the workforce and to the organization. And surely NNPC has missed Johnson in the sense that we have a leader in the union who has the common good of all as his main focus. And of course, his ability to interact with all, his inclusiveness, and his ability to share the thoughts of the workers with the management and the other way around has endeared him to the hearts of all of us, the union leaders and the staff in general, and of course the management of the company. we surely miss this gentleman, and we believe that his family has a lot of pain to take from this. But we are with them, we support them to make sure that this loss, which is to all of us, is also clearly being supported by the NNPC family.
Johnson is a man who anybody, any employer would like to work with. He's also somebody that any union of workers would treasure, because he will always fight for their rights too. So his death came like a thunder from the blues, and as much as we have to accept, we accepted it. And we asked the family to continue to bear the loss. The God Almighty that brought him knows why he had to take him at that time. And I have no doubt in my mind that God has forgiven his sins and I've given him eternal rest.
FOJ was such a, a passionate person when it came to peace and harmony in the workplace. And one of the unique attributes he had was the fact that he always tried to seek solution for the two parties. He looked out for a peaceful way to solve issues and not necessarily resort to maybe strike actions and all of that as a first option in resolving issues that arise in between the employer and the worker. And he actually, that was something that drove the, PENGASSAN to a kind of classy level, when compared with some of the other, associations or unions in the oil and gas industry. And it brought PENGASSAN up to a class that is really good. Dialogue was his watchword, and I think that is one of the things we will miss in the future. Again, he was really such a gentleman, and I can tell you that when it comes to union relationships, associations and workers, it's quite rare to find that mixture of a very good union leader and a gentleman in one person. So very, very humble personality. His humility is something that we'll miss in the industry, and his love for a peaceful resolution of issues between workers and the employers.
FOJ was the consummate unionist in terms of pursuing the interest of his members. But at the same time, he was somebody that believed so much in dialogue, in ensuring that there was peace in the industrial relations throughout the industry. He never tired of talking about that in his engagement, all his engagements with me. In the course of our relationship over 3 years, before his demise, developed a very close relationship with him. I miss him so much. He was peace-loving, one of the humblest persons you can ever meet. Very prayerful as well. He always ended each conversation with "God bless you." In summary, what I'm saying is, he was somebody who understood what it meant to balance the needs of his membership with the survival of the business. What it meant for the business to continue to survive in the interest of his members.
As part of his drive to transform PENGASSAN, FOJ initiated the e-library project and event resources center in all the zonal offices of the association.
We have relied heavily on members' dues and stakeholders to finance our activities, but unfortunately, the association wants to be financially independent and take its place in the nation. In order to achieve this, we are delving into investments that will enable us to create additional income for the association, contribute to the human capacity development of every worker in the industry, provide employment for Nigerians, and improve national GDP. This is why we are building digital libraries and events resource centers in our 4 zonal councils located in Kaduna, Port Harcourt, Warri, and Lagos.
1 year after his death, The national president of PENGASSAN says the project is near completion and will be named in honor of Francis Olabode Johnson.
We missed his humility. We miss his servant leadership disposition to serving the union and of course humanity as well. And in recognition of all of those legacies, we are working round the clock to see how we can immortalize him. At least something that can help remind us of his leadership qualities and some of the things he stood for when he was leading us. And part of that is our resolution to name the event center and the e-learning complex that we are doing in Port Harcourt after him. So that perhaps will also remind us of him going forward. If I look at the qualities of FOJ, he left quite a big shoe. And so what we are doing is to ensure that all that he dreamed about PENGASSAN, what he wanted PENGASSAN to be, he talked about cohesion, he talked about unity, he talked about accountability, transparency, and servant leadership. So we are bringing all of that on board, and we are trying to ensure that even as we hand over to the next crop of leaders, they will continue with such a vision and ensure that PENGASSAN remain the foremost trade union in Nigeria.
For many people, the late Comrade Francis Olabode Johnson will be remembered for being thoughtful, humorous, compassionate, and transparent.
FOJ was a committed trade unionist, a dedicated worker, and a very progressive Nigerian. He had organizational capacity and ability, and his commitment to the union endeared him to his colleagues who had a lot of respect for him.
If you ever met FOJ in his lifetime, you will know that he was one man that it would be difficult to say no to, whether you were management or government, because of his excellent style of negotiating. He didn't believe on the table discussion. He didn't. He would just do that as a matter of convenience. But behind the scene, FOJ could pick up his phone and call the management staff, the chief executive, or a government official, on an issue, industrial issue, resolve it, get it solved before they come to the table.
The best negotiator is the one that ensures that everybody wins. And this is typical Johnson's style of leadership. He goes into engagements with the expectation that everybody will get something out of it. Everybody will get what he should get out of it, and not an extreme position that you will take that the other person becomes exposed. In that respect, he can be the best example of an able union negotiator that you can find around. And I've had the cause to deal personally with him, but as the managing director of this company. That is post his death, because I always reflect on what he has done. But I was also in the senior management before his death, and I know that his role in the union were very constructive. He negotiates not only for him to win or for the union to win, but for all to win. All to win means the company must survive, the company must do well so that benefits can come to all.
Others described him as a caring and loving family man who always liked to spend time with his wife and children, despite his busy schedule as a labor leader.
Throughout his life, he exhibited the first law of nature, which is unconditional love. It doesn't matter how close you are to him, even from far and near.
To meet the Lord in air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord.
Comrade Francis Olabode Johnson was a man of strong and infectious character, one with an
behind, that you will watch over them. Father, in the midst of life's storms. We pray, Lord, at every point in time, whenever a storm rises up, you will speak peace on their behalf in Jesus' name.
Like the Bible says, God takes the good ones ahead of difficult times.
As it pleases the Almighty God in His great mercy to receive the soul of these, our dear brother, Francis Olabode Johnson.
Born on 2nd of May 1960 in Lagos, Comrade Francis Olabode Johnson was a staff of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and the National President of PENGASSAN until his death on 31st of May 2019. And that was the life and times of the PENGASSAN President, Comrade Francis Olabode Johnson. And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.